is be true to what you said on paper.
Good morning. Welcome back to the second hour of At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Elson, in studio with my brothers from another. To my right, the Rhodes Scholar. Rose Pierre is in here today. What's that say on your head? In the rug war?
The drug war. In the rug war.
He's about our toupees.
Well, you know, I kept mine on, man, because it's cold in here. It's a little chilly. You know what I'm saying?
Pastor House, he's balling up over there, too. He's like, I
mean, you doing it right. I mean, you got it off your head, man. I got in here. I was like, oh, it's kind of nippy. So.
No, believe me, I know they have the cameras on it. And over to the right there, the doctor is in the house. Dr. Bradley is here with you.
I'm here. I'm God. God has given me this day. I'm going to live it like him, like he want me to live it.
From the neck up.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother. Everything is right.
Yeah, good. All
with you, but not with the country.
Exactly. Well, thank our sponsor, the Money Store, for all your mortgage needs. Good branch manager Cora Holbrook could call it area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Again, you listen at the Round Table with MAMLEO, sponsored by the Money Store.
Amen.
You said money doesn't grow on trees.
Yes, it does. And little bushes as well.
Also, join us today, January 30th. It's the National Small Business Day, but today we're going to be having a book drive. Join us and support the National Small Business Day. Visit Frugal Bookstore in partnership with Boston Tea Leaves to purchase a book for donation to a local school. Your contribution will make a meaningful difference in our community's youth. That's today, Saturday, November 30th at 10 a.m. at 57 Warren Street, Roxbury, Mass. 02119. I will be in attendance there. Like I said, I'm trying. My brothers can stop by there. Like I said, come out and meet your radio personalities from At the Round Table with MAMLEO.
Unfortunately, I have to take my wife to the doctor, so I can't. I won't be able to make it.
Ain't got to working today.
No, she has to go get her neck checked.
Well, so you're getting a checker from the neck.
Oh, she's going to check her from the neck. Make sure that she's okay.
There we go. So again, that's the National Small Business Day book drive at the Frugal Bookstore. That's located at 57 Warren Street. That's today from 10 a.m. to around 2 p.m. Like I said, but look, if you get after 2 p.m., he'll still be open. Come on by and support a small black business. But speaking of that, Dr. Bell, now you had some information on another unknown fact, most black inventor.
I wanted to just get people's attention real quickly. How many folks go to a carnival and enjoy the figure 8 roller coaster? Do you realize that was invented by a black man?
I did not know that.
His name is Granville T. Woods.
Granville T.
Granville T. Woods was a prolific inventor.
Okay.
Very good at the electrical engineering. So I invite you to Google Granville T. Woods.
Granville T. Woods.
Yes.
And so you said he invented
the figure 8 roller coaster.
Okay.
Granville T. Woods invented the world's first electric roller coaster, the figure 8, and introduced it at Coney Island in New York in 1892.
Wow.
He was so good that even Edison tried to hire him, and when he couldn't hire him, he stole all his inventions.
That sounds about right. It sounds just about like Trump, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Granville T. Woods.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yes. Beautiful.
Granville T. Woods.
Yeah. Taylor Woods.
Yeah.
Or Taylor Woods.
He is
1856 to 1910.
Yeah. He was a prolific inventor, and a lot of things that we enjoy today he came from his mind. Not from Edison's mind.
Electric railroad system, electric roller coaster, and multiple newspapers refer to him as the Black Edison.
Yes, so I would actually invite you to research him and learn more about the contributions that we made to the society.
The sad part, Dr. Bradley, I think, is many people will research that as much as they did on what a tariff is.
Yeah.
Sadly, but folks, historically, we have to learn our lesson the hard way, right? Mm-hmm. We know what this country has not provided equally to men and women, and particularly people of color, right? Mm-hmm. Black and brown people. And yet, when we try to get on our feet, we try to assimilate in a way. And I'm not saying that interacting with people is not a good thing, but when we try to forget our own identity, right? And we see that a lot of times, like with what's the congressman down in Florida there?
Rubio?
No, the black one that was in Donaldson, and you see Scott, right? And they got nothing, nothing for their being bootlackers, right? And so I say that because a lot of times, sadly, you see people who don't want to identify with being black, almost apologetic for being black, right? Other folks can be very proud of who they are, and they are unapologetic about supporting their agenda. As you were playing that clip with Congresswoman Presley, when she was saying that now white folks are saying, well, there's reverse discrimination. Well, like she said, how can you reverse something that you say
doesn't exist,
right? Because we know what they're talking about is because now that things are supposedly
trying to remedy past harms that were done,
and
it's not exactly
right. We can't allow that segment to get ahead. They must always be seen as inferior to the master race. This sounds like somebody you know from back in the past, Mr. Hitler.
Yeah, it does. And one of the things, I was having a conversation with someone, forgive me because I'm over 60, it doesn't stay long, but the conversation I had was about color. And we were talking about, how people tend to silo other people. And I said to the person, well, the protein in the human body that governs color is the melanin. Melanin determines your color of your skin, your eyes, your hair, whatever. That's its job. So when you really pull all this stuff back, we're doing all this hatred over a protein or the lack thereof. If you think about it, you know what I mean? So, because we're more alike than we are different. But the issue is just the protein, the lack of protein.
To that point, Dr. Bradley, right? When you're saying that, I think about this isn't just about cultural differences, right? Because when you go back in history, you had the people who were more fair, more darker like yourself, and people who were more fair skinned like myself. Black people where there was this division because I was lighter people got treated a little better than darker. So it's not just this historically has been this division amongst ourselves, right?
No, actually, it's like part of the caste system. It's like been indoctrinated into existence. Again, like they said, the house Negroes, the lighter their skin, the better, you could pass, as they say. Some people could fare.
The closer you are to the leading class, the leading group. But my point here is the thing that hits me, because as I dive into history, all parts of the earth was populated by Africans.
Yes,
everything originated from Africa.
Yes,
and so which means that long before Europe became white, it was black. If you start to think about it, you know what I mean? It was black, and as people lived through time, and the skin and people were less exposed to the sun, the skin became lighter because the body started to adapt to the environment, and the hair changed because you need to keep your heat in, so your hair actually became longer to cover your neck because you don't want to lose your heat from your neck. But in Africa, we don't need that because now the hair is going to be bushy because they want to keep your neck free so you can get cooler. So when you start thinking about the only difference is the environment, it's adaptation from the body by the body to actually respond to the environment in which you're residing. Has nothing to do with who's better, has nothing to do with any of that nonsense. So the people that actually occupied Europe were black before they were white. Think about it.
Remember I mentioned that race conference I went to? That was one of the things that they pointed out as well. Was the fact that the DNA is 99.9% that we are the same, and it is literally the protein, and it is through evolution, as you said, adapting to different environments that we were in that gave us these features. And again, like the darker skin because you got more sun exposure, the lighter skin because you need more sun exposure in the lighter where there's less sun.
The black woman is the only woman on earth who has the Eve gene. She's the only woman, you know what I mean? Because she's the original woman, you know what I mean? And so which means that every woman evolved from that. Every person evolved from that. You know what I mean? So when you start to think about how we're categorizing people based on what they look like, you realize this is stupid.
But that's the ignorance. That's
It's the ultimate stupidity.
Ignorance is bliss. Thank you. I'm going to say good morning to Brother Harry Scales. Thank you for sending me that information. Byron Donald is the congressman that was running around. This dude ain't been in a black barbershop probably his whole life, right? And now he going around. He was running around campaigning for Donald Trump. Somebody had to tell him where black barbershops were even located, right? And this is what we get caught up in today, with this entertainment, right? It's just mind-boggling how we don't take what is serious to be serious. We know more about celebrities than we know about politicians who are the ones who are going to decide. It's not.
Well, the irony is that's what Donald Trump was, first of all, as a celebrity, and that's why I think he got to become president, and he's getting the pass for everything that because he's already famous. It's like, let him go, let him go, and that's the thing.
Well, see, I actually think Black America is stronger than what it think it is. I think that there's two problems with our community that I instantly jump on. I would criticize. Number one, we have a very poor EE ratio. Our EE ratio is out of whack.
What do you mean by EE?
I mean that we value entertainment more than we value education.
All right.
Okay. So
I'll agree to that.
So we will jump real quickly to go be entertained, but we will not jump real quickly to go educate ourselves in that book.
Well, to that point, think about what you just said. Remember BET, when they first came on, it wasn't Black Education Team; it was Black Entertainment Television.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm sorry.
I'll just say this, gentlemen. With all the modern technology there is out there, there's an easier way to absorb the information. If you chose to get educational television a chance, you would get educated. But I'm just saying, you're right. Everyone goes
to think.
Yeah, that means that it's not spoon fed to you. You got to go out and seek it. So that's what I mean by having a chain in our mind, where that we expect master to give us everything. We don't have to do anything. That's why people wouldn't leave the plantation, because they felt like, well, if I leave the plantation, how am I going to figure it out? You know what I mean? So that's the whole piece, is that we may be free physically, but are we free mentally? And that has been a generational curse on us as a people. And my second area that I criticize Black America on is that, and I feel that we're more powerful than what we think, is our buying power. Our buying power is massive.
Well, you see, this weekend we're going to go in debt, right? Black Friday, that's the only thing they understand about Black, right? Because we'll go in debt until for the next 2 years, trying to buy and support an economy and things that
don't support you,
that mean nothing.
My wife and I are blessed in the sense that we serve in the police department. We're doing very well. So my daughter is in Chicago. She decided that she's going to go out. Watch this now. This is a lesson in fatherhood as well. So my daughter's in Chicago. She's in school, and she decided that she's going to go out on the town. So she takes the car that my wife and I bought her, and she drives it to the bus station, to the train station. And then she gets on the train and she goes into Chicago. She comes back, she's all happy. Oh, yeah, Chicago is beautiful, da-da-da-da. Then she realized she put the car in reverse, and the alarm just goes beep. And she was like, what's going on? She gets out, someone ripped the bumper off the car.
Wow.
So what she does, she calls me immediately. She doesn't call her mother. She calls me. Dad, this happened to my car, and this is the problem. Watch this now. And so I said to her, take the car to this location, have them price it. And then she came back with a price. I said, no, I just want to get a feel of what the price is. Who was the person? What this white guy did this? I said, you know what? I'm going to have the car shipped back to Boston, and I'm going to take it to a black shop and have that black shop handle it. The price was the same, but in my mind, I'm saying that money that I'm giving him he's going to use it to take care of his family. So the money stayed in the community. That's what I mean by buying power. Now I could have easily said, let's take it out to Chicago, but I felt like, number one, I like the quality of work that I get from this guy, and if I didn't like his quality of work, I go to another black guy, or I go to another Hispanic guy, I go to another Latino guy.
We're doing that book drive at the Frugal Bookstore today, right, to support Black business.
What time is that again?
10 a.m. 10 a.m. right after the broadcast. Let's grab this call. That's very good. Morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning, it's Jamal back again.
Good morning.
Well, so I got two comments on what was just said. Now, one, we certainly could have helped you find, a black a reputable person in Chicago, there's certainly plenty of them right there. Because all that travel expense, that might have been crazy.
It was crazy, but I don't know that work principle. Right? I don't know that work.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
I got cousins out there.
I gotta call Brother Jamal.
And that's why he had his shit back here.
I don't know the work, brother. Go on, I hear you.
But the good news is at least she didn't go out at 1:30 in the morning on the way to Subway and get jumped by two mega hat wearing people.
You know he's actually been exonerated from that right now.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they let him go. Smollett, Jesse Smollett.
I don't even know who that is.
Again, that's because
because now it's going to embolden his lie. Yeah. And now you're going to hear, see, I told y'all I was innocent, and we all know he just got away with that. Yeah. But come on. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. And then on the spending, I've often thought that our spending power, like I think our voting power, is often over-exaggerated because it suits our own needs, right? But certainly, we do spend a bunch of money. Now, our spending habits, to me, more than our spending power. Because some of the estimates that I've heard about the numbers up into the trillions, I don't know how those numbers are arrived to, whatever. But our spending habits, everything from the shoes to the clothes to the liquor to the nightclubs to whatever. And people like Larry and Dr. Bradley spending a whole bunch of money on hair products.
All right, Jamal. All right.
See, I should have put my hat on so you could see that mine was unkempt this morning.
But that's all right. Okay.
And now, lastly, on a serious tip, because what y'all was talking about with the race and everything and the melanin and everything, for a couple folks, and particularly because y'all are going to a bookstore today, right? I hope that folks out there in the audience are familiar, at least with one of our great scholars, Dr. John Henrik Clarke. And Dr. John Henrik Clarke wrote a foreword for this book by actually a white man named Michael Bradley. And the book is called The Iceman Inheritance, The Prehistoric Sources of Western Man's Racism, Sexism, and Aggression.
Amen.
And as I said, the introduction was written by John Henrik Clarke. That, along with Francis Cress Welsing's great work. Let me see if I can pull her up right now.
And Jamal, while you're doing that as well, I want you to tell people, because I know you have more of a relationship with Leonard, the Frugal Bookstore, and why people should come out and support. Why we chose that store, part of it because of the relationship I have with you and the work that you do with them. And I've been down there and seeing, struggling because, like I said, the area has changed. That's one of the, Siddiqui has been working with folks down there, and that's in that triangle. We call the Dudley Triangle now, Nubian Square. Is that we're putting our money where our mouth is, right? We're saying, okay, folks are doing their part. We can help out a little bit by trying to attract people into that neighborhood.
Can we broadcast from that location?
Yes.
Is that something we can do?
Yes, we can.
One of those. Is that something that
live from the bookstore?
Live from the bookstore at some point. Can we do something?
I'm sure he'd be down for it. He's done a bunch of stuff like that. They do children's book readings and all that. I mean, so first of all, I make jokes, but like literally, we talk about a mom and a pop bookstore. It's literally a mom and a pop shop. Right. You know what I mean? Clarissa's mom and Lenny is pop.
Right.
They grew up here. They live here. Their kids went to school here.
Yeah.
The youngest still in school here.
Yeah.
They products of BPS and everything like that. And back when we were having the the great debates with Siddiqui about the condition of Nubian Square, oftentimes Lenny was my parakeet in the coal mine, right? Or canary in the coal mine, part of something.
That's okay. We know where you're going.
Right, because he's the guy, I do business with him, and when I was like, I don't know, I'm down there all the time, it's because, hey, I'm either down there on a friendly visit or a business visit or just stopping by or what have you, but I was down there a lot, and seeing the conditions of what he had to do, particularly round about, 7:30 in the morning, he would normally be cleaning urine and feces off of it. So I've seen him struggle, and I've seen him work himself to change the condition of the Nubian Square. He's the only store owner I've seen down there who's out there sweeping and pressure washing the sidewalk. He hires his own people to paint the little what do you call it, the storefront there, the facade or whatever. Even when the landlord might be taking longer than wanted. So he takes pride.
As
in
I
his
say, he's
store.
taking pride, and that's one of the reasons too why we chose him today. But I can tell you, I have some of my colleagues who've already ordered books from him, and I know that people understand. Sometimes in a location like that, you're living on the margins, right? So when you get an infusion, even if it's a couple of $100, that makes a difference. That makes a difference, and it's been more than that. But I'm just saying, is that people don't understand. This is not.
I'm trying to go on.
Yeah, no, I sent it to you guys, but this is not a Walmart. This is not a Barnes and Nobles where they have locations where they can support. If one isn't doing well, they can absorb it. If I'm not mistaken, that's the only location they have. Is that correct, Joel?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, too, now with the whole Trump thing, and people are looking for alternatives because of Elon Musk and the Amazon type of thing, alternatives, right?
Yeah.
So here we have, right in our own neighborhood, a person who, whatever books he has, but he has the capability to order any book, that's been made as long as it's still in print.
Yeah.
So we need to utilize, in my view, things that are closer like that, because Amazon don't need no more of our money.
No, and right, and that's who Trump has hired for most of his billionaires and millionaires.
Yeah, what's going to be my question? He has a website, so because I order books all the time, because I build my own library. I mean, does he have a website you can get into, and then I can order it? Have my wife order the book from him?
Yep. Well, you can call him direct as well.
Frugalbookstore.net.
Okay.
Frugalbookstore.net, and once again, Lenny and Clarissa, are the owners there. And lastly, I say this too, because those books that I gave y'all on the Black Police in America. Of course, that's where I got them. And what I was trying to do is get the Academy to purchase, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them. You know what I mean? For various students. I was trying to get one to Commissioner Cox.
I know this brother. I know this brother.
Who, Lenny Egerton?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's been around forever.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't know he had a bookstore. Okay, I got you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
No, this is why, like I said, it's important for us to collaborate. But this is, it's funny because, like I told you, people would look at Jamal and I and say, man, how can these brothers be close as they are? Because they don't see that, you peel back the layers and we're all family, right? And not in a judgmental way, right?
Like I said, we're all 50th cousins.
Right. But they don't think that you can work with people on issues, right? You have to, and this job, early on, it kind of teaches you that, you stay away from, you can only be affiliated with your family if they've had some issues, but anybody else, I'm like, wait a minute. If you grow up in our neighborhood, most of the people have had interactions that may not be positive and may not be something that they brought on themselves with law enforcement. So if you're just going to hang out with the people that might have squeaked by, you might have two friends in the neighborhood, if they're not family members. But we've got to get out of that mindset of looking down our nose at people and supporting the folks who are doing the work. And Jamal, I can't thank you enough for the work that you do for community, because you do it unselfishly and people don't know it. You don't do it for the notoriety. You do it because it's the right thing to do. But it just saddens me that there aren't more folks who want to get involved with helping the community and really just think about how they can help themselves.
Well, that's what I noted, when I'm doing my Black History events or whatever. When I used to do entertainment events with my buddy, the nightclub would be packed. I bring a black scholar here with a knowledge, crickets. So it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. And as I've always, my little analogy, particularly here in Boston, because Boston is a hard place to pump consciousness, unlike, New York, Chicago, Philly, they all have their pockets. Here in Boston, it seems very, very hard, even though we have a long history of black history and all this and all that. And when you're pumping consciousness here, I've always felt I have a beautiful product, 100% pure, grade A. But the problem is, I'm selling pork in a Muslim country.
Right. No, and to that point, it's funny you say that, because I remember when my time as president of MAMLEO, we partnered with the Universal Soul Circus, right? We brought them to town. and they perform in other states, and where there's black people and they do well. And sadly, they didn't do well. They didn't come back. And I was saying, wow. But then when Barnum and Bailey came, every time they came down here to the Garden and all that, I mean, our folks would, trip over themselves, pay all the exorbitant amount, and I'm like, why can't we support our own? I mean, we saw the Universal Soul Circus here one time, and that was it.
The circus is better if it's done by white people.
Have you ever seen the Universal Soul Circus?
I have to.
All I'm going to say is this: it's like, first of all, it's like you have to prime, and then you have to prime them for years in advance for you to actually get the results. Because you can, like, if you expect, like, to be like, just to be able to say something and for them to get it right away, it's not going to happen. And by experience, it's like raising a child. And it's unfortunate that the society is at the point, and they've kept it at that point, basically with the way that they've disfragmented the black family and they destroyed the educational system from within. I mean, it was funny when I was sharing my experience of busing in Boston with this race amnesty thing, because they were talking about, the North is always ready to point at the racism at the South, how blatant it is, but they're never willing to really look at the racism that's going on here.
So, always pointing back.
Yeah. And so so it just was funny. I pointed out the fact that I was a student of busing, and when they did bus us, it was like the 2nd and 3rd grade went to the Conley School, but we had a separate time to enter, a separate lunch, a separate recess, so we never actually interacted with the other white kids in the building. So again, it was like we're going to follow the law, but we're going to make sure that the intent of the law is not adhered to. So Boston does have its own history to deal with it.
That's why I said Boston is nothing to be proud of when it comes to race.
So when Jamal's pointing out the fact that we don't have a pocket of like intellectuals and stuff like that, and I think that is, I don't know if it's by design.
It is by design.
Okay, because even like the house that was Harriet Tubman, had a house here,
right? Yes,
in Boston. Yeah. And they got rid of it.
That was the last vast of really a black footprint in the South End, and it was sold off, and now there's high where there's probably
and again, the same tactic that they always use, they send in an internal agent to destroy the project from within.
Yeah.
Okay, like the same thing, the way Trump is appointing people at the top of the office, they're there, like he says, to destroy the offices. Because the lady was specifically put there to save the Harriet Tubman house, and what she did was actually sold it and said, sorry, done deal.
Nothing to see here. Yeah. So Jamal, is Lenny the only black-owned business in that area down there? I know there's the Silver Slipper, but I mean, like, of that magnitude. Because I mean, people sadly don't read. I know Dr. Bradley's a very avid reader, but my daughter's, oh my God, I'm in the library 2 or 3 times a week, right? And I love it, right? But I'm saying is that we've gotten away from that, and then people, if they do read, a lot of people do the e-reading. Like I like books. The book. That's why you don't see like the newspapers and things like that are gone by the wayside. You know what I mean?
Well, see, and that's the key right there, because to me, it's not so much about the ownership, but it's like what is it that you own? So, for instance, right across the street, there's an African hair braiding joint.
Okay.
But how many hair braiding joints we got?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So we only got one bookstore, black owned, right, in the black community. But that's that, right? How many pizza joints? How many burger joints? How many steak and cheese barbershops?
But are those owned by us?
Many of them are. Yeah, many of them are. This thing, and then that gets back to the us, because I forget. Somebody said, I think it was Pastor Dan, said if you go up and down Blue Hill Avenue, you won't find, or he said, can you find a black-owned business? And I know of several. Yes, certainly.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But then people are going to get into your history. They want a DNA test. She's Jamaican. She's Haitian.
Right.
He's African. Right. Okay,
Divide.
But there are, contrary to belief, there are actual black Americans too. There are actual black Americans as well who own things on Blue Hill Avenue. So it's just, I get what people are trying to say, but sometimes when we speak in those definitives.
Well, all I gotta say is, like, again, since I went to that race amnesty, we're all cousins and we're all from Africa originally. Period. Yeah. And everyone
the only thing that
there.
separates us is the journey, the voyage. When they brought us here, where they dropped us off, right? Because the Caribbean was to trade with, the route through the, because it was warm. You could bring more slaves through there and they drop people off. And that's why people might have a different dialect than those of us whose family made it here, and we don't understand. If we trace our history back, it all goes back to the motherland. But that's our ignorance, right? And a lot of times we want to be ignorant because ignorance is bliss, right?
Yes.
And so I think that there's going to be so much damage done, and maybe, like I said, I think in some ways, as much as this is a curse, it's a blessing, because it's going to highlight to black people what America really is.
Well, I think there have been several events that should have already highlighted to black people what America really is, and I think the reason why it has not planted roots is because of our conditioning. And when we have been well conditioned to hate us, we hate who we are, because we see ourselves the way that they want to see us, which is the reason why we refuse to buy from each other, which is the reason. And I think I really didn't respond to Jamal's hit when he said, it's about habit. It's not buying power is one thing, because I concur with him. I agree with him. It is about habit, and our habit has been shaped by our conditioning. And our conditioning tells us that the ice for this brother here is not as cold as the ice for the white brother. Right. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The soul circus is not as good as Bailey's. You know what I mean? And so, because we have been given so much negativity in everything that we have been exposed to, that we have to actually buy brands. Right. We have to buy names. Right. And if we have this name, this Gucci, then we got the real McCoy. Right. You know what I mean? So it's all about conditioning.
And it's funny you said it, because I'm more proud to have this MAMLEO.
There you go.
Right. I wear this more than I wear any designer. Is I'm sporting MAMLEO's brand, right? But also,
but how many black people? Hold up, brother. How many black people ask you, what does that mean?
Oh, many.
Same with me.
Right.
That's why I asked the question.
Right. And but that's the opportunity to educate them.
There you go.
Right?
That's an academic moment.
They're like, but then I've had people who have seen it and said, I know what that is. And that's very refreshing, right? And we still have work to do. I said it because we had a moment, and then because we don't do movements, we do moments, right? Sadly, right? It's when Black Lives Matter, when we had our issues out there, right? And we didn't keep our foot on the gas. We didn't continue to work together, right? We saw that some folks profited from that, right? But that was an opportunity that was an eye-opener for this country, because the other side said, hey, wait a minute. We see that we're not being treated in our mind fairly. We're going full throttle. That's why we want this whole reverse, no DEI and none of that stuff, right? That's why we want Donald Trump, because that was an eye-opener for them, saying, hey, if these folks get this stuff together, they come together, they could really be a force, right? But we didn't capitalize on that, right? We went back after a while, it all quieted down, right? The marches. And I'm like, okay, that's all well and good, but what's the mission here? What's the mission here, other than going out there marching in the evening and keeping the police out? What is the mission? What's the agenda? There was no agenda, right? Because if it was, all of that, what came out of it? What came out of it was the other side saying, we got to make sure we have something in place to quell that the next time that they even think about it.
I agree. I mean, but one of the problems that we have in our community, I do agree with the moment as opposed to the movement. But oftentimes the moment only strikes for the short-term objective.
Right.
Not the long-term objective,
right?
Because if we bring in the long-term objective, we'll be still fighting.
But historically, though, right? That's what I'm saying. We were long-term because we weren't trying to be accepted and integrated into a segment that had no need for us, didn't want us other than for free labor, right? When we were the civil rights marches and stuff like that, it was because at the end of the day, we couldn't go to that lunch counter and pay, or we had to sit down here at this end of it. We could ride only on the back of the bus. We feel like now that we can sit anywhere on the bus, everything is okay. It's all good, right? We can go and spend our money in these restaurants, right? And maybe they see us even though in the back or push us to the back, but it's all good because we can eat there. The mind not understanding that place is doing nothing for us financially. It's not giving back, But
I also think we don't recognize the fact that there's a two-tiered accomplishment here for people that don't look like us. We can have the outright racism, but we can have the functional equivalent of the outright racism.
Right.
Oftentimes, we destroy the outright racism, but we don't address the functional equivalent, the silent piece, the behind-the-scenes piece, where I'm writing policies in abstract to make sure of that. I'm writing policies so that praxis.
Or depriving you of education.
Exactly.
Equality.
So we have to look at not only the function, not only the outright racism, but also any behavior, anything that could be the equivalent to the functional equivalent of racism.
Yeah.
It's double layered.
I want to go back to your original point about the Barnum's Bailey's Circus versus this is the first time I ever heard of the Soul Circus. So if I had known there was an African American circus, definitely I'd be. Yeah, that was the first time.
And if you Google it, it's probably still going. You see it in states where there's black population that are
okay, so it's got to be marketed a little bit more, so something. Because again, like I said, this is the first time I ever heard.
There's not much marketing up here for black people.
It's big.
Yeah, it's big.
Okay.
Atlanta, Detroit,
Been
like
around
you said,
for a long
places with a
time.
big black population.
Even places like Mississippi, where it's a racist.
So we cannot give up the fight that we got to bring it to Boston. Okay.
Put you in charge.
Okay, I will take care of that. I will make sure.
Jamal, stand by.
I'll also give you a good example. Look, black theater. I remember back when I was a kid, my grandmother, my aunts, they took me to all the the UB Blake shows, Bubbling Brown Sugar, and Ain't No Misbehaving, and y'all remember all them plays that used to come through here?
Yeah.
But see, even that, what I'm saying is Boston has just become, in my view, a shadow of its former self. We used to have a much more vibrant black art scene, black intellectual scene, and it just has.
But I think it goes to that point what Dr. Bradley was saying is that they feel like if it's black, it's not as good. And I mean, I've gone to black plays and stuff, man. I take my kid, and we are just blown away with the talent.
Creativity is amazing.
We connected, right? When we go see Alvin Ailey, right? I took my daughters to see. I mean, those are the things that we connect with. I don't connect with the Nutcracker.
Well, I'll leave that one alone.
Stand by, Joe. I'll bring the other call. Good morning, caller. What say you?
Good morning. Yeah, this is a question for all y'all, and it's a political one. Since Donald Trump is reelected into office again, will this finally be a wake-up call for Black America to do what the late Malcolm X, the late Martin Luther King, and the late Elijah Muhammad has been preaching about when it comes to black economics? So,
sadly, no. We've become so indoctrinated to the commercialized and wanting to be accepted by a
mainstream.
Right? Because look, if you look at these numbers and you look inside these numbers, right? These are people who know this, even on the other side, that this is not in their best interest having Donald Trump in there. But they feel the pain will be inflicted more on people that look like us than them. So they're okay with that. So, and sadly, there are a lot of our folks who think there's some stimulus check coming.
Yes.
That's good enough. $1,200 is what the price for their soul is.
And then the thing I got to say is that the black community has tried and many times been successful when they just worked with themselves, but it's every time that they've done so, the town has been destroyed because of white jealousy or white rage, whatever you want to call it. But there's always been some sort of trumped up charge, or someone was attacked, or this was done, or and then so the whole town goes burned down because a white mob goes in there and destroys it. And then so that's a part of our history. Again, that's part of the history that they don't want you to know of. From Oklahoma City to Wilmington, which I just found out in 1898, they ran all the elected black officials out. And then again, it was just amazing that the history that we're taught in this country is so whitewashed.
We're hearing that whitewashed.
And now, silent weapons for silent wars, right?
Yes.
So now they don't need to quote unquote bomb your city or whatever.
Right.
You got cities like Jackson, Mississippi,
right, with the water, right?
Shout out there, right? They'll mess up your water, your infrastructure, your electricity, dippity dap. So it's crazy. And back in Roman times, people were salting the crops for the enemy. Now your crops ain't gone. So I mean, it's the same type of economic and
psychological warfare.
Right, what they did to the Native Americans, and I'm not talking about way back in the days. I'm talking about recently when they poisoned the water out there on their reservation.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on.
But also, one of the things that that really helped black families that could not afford. And Dr. Bradley, I want to get your take on this. Is that part of it? They want to eliminate these Pell Grants, right? And those are things that, you know, a lot of times black people don't come from wealthy families, but they have to take out a loan, and these loans, even though people have to pay them back, won't be available. Yeah. So these are the type of things, like as you were talking about the water. That's just another layer of removing opportunities from black people.
Well, I think I can't recall the year, and I excuse my memory, but Lee Atwater put it firmly. He said, you know, you can no longer say inward. You have to say, you have to vote for policies that will actually adversely affect that demographics of the community, you know, to get what you want, because it's no longer popular. So that is a good example of that, Larry, is where like we have to do things and write policies that's going to adversely affect people that we want it to affect.
Say it's not racist,
but it's not racist. You just can't afford it, you know, which is the way that gentrification is rolled out. You know, you can't afford to live here. We're not being racist, but since you don't have the money, how can you say it's racist? It's economics. But in actuality, the policies that you're writing actually are written in such a way that it would adversely affect the individual who look like us. And that's what you have to be on the lookout for.
And to that point, you know, Dick, you know, because I said a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the issues that are going on inside the city council, right? Where now some of the city council members are saying that they feel like the white ones, that they're being discriminated against by the blacks who are there, because they now have a majority of councilors there, that they're on the receiving end of racism. And like, wow, I mean, when city councilor and Turner and as well as Yancey were, and others who for many years, you know, with the you know, the Dapper O'Neill, as well as the Jim Kelly, right, and Louise, all of those folks who were down there going through this, not once was that subject broached that it was racist, you know,
not at all, because they had the numbers.
Now, when it's perceived that black people they're afraid. I think their fear is that they feel like we would treat them the same way they treated us.
See, but I think that was really the vehicle that ushered in Donald Trump. You know, that when I talk about fear, that's the fear that they're actually afraid of, for lack of a better term, that ushered in Donald Trump. And what hurts me is that our own people saying, yeah, we're going to support this because I'm going to get a $1,200 check, allegedly. You know, and so, and I think, you know, that will also, watch this now, Donald Trump is one thing, but Trumpism is another.
That's going to outlive Donald Trump.
It's going to outlive Donald Trump. All right, Donald Trump is limited. Because he's a carbon unit. You know what I mean? He's going to actually, we all going to go. All right, but his ideology. You know what I mean? And the ideology that's predicated on fear. You're going to have other people coming in and tapping into the ideology, and it's going to heal.
So to that point, Dick, you know, I was
looking eating that McDonald's
and drinking that Diet Coke. That's worse for you. But and then the Iranians are trying to get their hands on them too. So you know, so here's the thing. I didn't say that. Ditko. You know, even in this so-called Democrat liberal state, right? Donald Trump's numbers increased by at least 4 or 5% here in Massachusetts, right? So what he's saying is there's an appetite for growing for ignorance, right? Fear. An appetite growing for here. What are you hearing in your neighborhood, in your community? Are people even talking about what the future looks like, or what their plans are, or how they're going to embrace what they think is going to be these joyful times? Are going to be really some difficult times for black people.
For all people, I'm sorry.
But when I'm hearing it, I get mixed reactions. Some of them want to come on, have us to be in office. Others said that Donald Trump, well, he's a businessman, so he knows what he's doing because he treats the country like a business.
So let me just stop you there for a second. So he's been in bankruptcy 6 or 7 times. That's a good businessman. But go ahead. Are they aware of that?
He doesn't pay his employees. He has to be sued.
Are they aware of those things? A good businessman? Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And there's others that say that they're just going to survive the weather, so to speak.
No, this storm is, if this storm goes on,
ostrich mode.
Okay. Right. Just
it's not a storm, it's climate change.
Right. We've seen the damages that storms can category, and this is going to be a category 5.
Like I said before, earlier in the broadcast, America has a debt to pay. Donald Trump is going to be the individual that makes sure that America pays this debt. You cannot build a society on stolen land and steal people from the land to build it and not pay for it.
Yeah.
America got a debt to pay, and it's coming.
Reverend Wright said,
God damn, America.
The chickens have come home. President Obama's pastor.
No, because that pastor, exactly. He had said
and
it.
They lost their mind when he said that. You know,
it was like, it wasn't Obama who said it. Obama was just there. Listen,
but he was speaking the truth about America, right?
Yes. See, white America is very good about wanting to do or hide the truth. You know, and that's what I liked about Sister Presley's comment. Is that you don't have a right to change the facts.
Right.
You have your own opinion, but you can't change the facts. The facts are the facts.
But to sit there and say that it's reverse racism when you just said that
racism doesn't exist, that's the most beautiful argument to their nonsense.
But I'm being discriminated against. You know,
that is beautiful. That attacks the nonsense.
So Jamal, looking into your crystal ball to Dick's point, maybe you have a different answer to his question than we do, because I don't see it. I'm not optimistic at all. I'm not afraid, but I'm just not optimistic. I think people are going to learn the hard way, and sadly, the destruction is going to be, but not just here. I said around the world. A global economy works. The way democracy works is collaboration. Like when Hitler took over. If it was just those small countries that went in there, they couldn't do it without the United States and some of the other larger countries. We're not going to have those allies, and they're never going to trust America again because they're saying, "Wait a minute." Maybe Donald Trump the first time was a fluke and an experiment with America, and you guys got rid of him, and that we wouldn't see that again. It's back here on display. They're saying, "Okay, fool me once, shame on me. You fool me once, shame on me."
Well, the first time, just interject. It's the first time Biden met with the G8, and he made this comment. He said, "America is back." French President Macron said, "Yes, for how long?" How long? And he was right.
Yeah.
How long are you back? So what Trump re-entry into the presidency has conveyed to our allies is that we can no longer trust America to be, the fulcrum, the beacon of hope, the fulcrum of success, a fulcrum of democracy in in the world. We have to take on that. Now, part of that may be, true. Because if you think about it, we've been paying a whole lot of money for the defense of other societies, but, the fact that I personally feel that this guy's a mole. He's a mole. He may be a mole of based on stupidity, but nevertheless, he's a mole. And I think that's going to actually destroy him. I think I predict by the third year of his administration, he will be impeached. And actually become the very first president. Become the very first president who actually been convicted on the impeachment. Because I think within 24 months, that the Republicans are going to lose control of that component of government. They're going to lose the House on both chambers, and then it's going to become very clear that Trump is working on behalf of Russia. Not on behalf of America.
But
and they're going to impeach him and
because they elected him, right? And they'll get behind his policies because they think that's what the vast majority of Americans have voted for, this type of lunacy, this type of America first, America alone.
Well, he only got a 1.7% edge on that particular on the populist vote. Right. He didn't get a landslide like they're trying to put.
That's how he's selling it, right? Yeah, and these folks are buying it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
So. Again, folks, want to remind folks today that we're going to be it's National Small Business Day. There's going to be a book drive. Join us from supporting the National Small Business Day. Visit Frugal Bookstores in partnership with Boston Tea Leaves to purchase a book for a donation to a local school. Your contribution will make a meaningful difference in our community's youth. That's at 57 Warren Street, Roxbury, Mass. 02119. That's today, November 30th at 10 a.m. So come on by. I'm going to be there. I know Dr. Bradley can't make it, but like I said, you'll get it. If you haven't met some of the At the Round Table personalities, not that we're celebrities here, but come on down and say hello. But more importantly, come on down and support
and buy a book.
Black business.
Get a book.
That's it.
Read it.
We're going to donate these back to our kids in school so that they can read the book. You know, because that's important too. So, Dicko, if you're around, brother, come on down and say hello. Did we lose Dicko? Oh, okay. Jamal, where do we go from? You know, we have an election. We have a mayoral election. It doesn't get as much attention. I think now that this is over in the first of the year, we're going to have a mayoral. We have a city council, you know, as well. We have an election every year, but now it's at the local level, and people complain about they're not happy. But what are they going to do to make change? Or they're going to just be complacent or sit home and just talk about it, but do nothing about it?
Well. I think based on what we're seeing, I think you're going to see a lot of people come out to vote, Larry. Yeah, because I think Trump is going to anger a lot of folks. I mean, I'm looking at his selections. You don't have to be, you know, a Rhodes Scholar. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to actually figure out that this is not good. You know what I mean? The people that he's putting in these major decisions, major institutions, and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to destroy the institution from the top. All right? But I think he's going to anger a lot of American voters, and I think you're going to see a shift.
I don't think so, because they knew this ahead of time. This was no secret.
Well, I think a lot of people who stayed. I don't think it's going to be his supporters. I think there's going to be a lot of people who stayed on the wayside and say, "Okay, now I made a contribution to this. I didn't vote. I made a contribution to this guy being in office," and I think they're going to come out.
But you're going to have to wait 4 years for.
Well, you have to wait 4 years for him, but 2 years for leadership in the legislation.
Correct.
That is in the legislative branch.
Right.
You know, both chambers of the legislative branch, the Senate and the House of Representatives. I think you're going to see a shift, and I think once that happens, that's when the fight really going to begin. Right now, the Republicans are not going to do anything to scare to control this guy.
Right. But do you know how much damage will be done in 2 years?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know
that's the price America has to pay.
You know how many judges will be put on the federal bench in 2 years? That's why President Biden smartly is trying to get as many confirmed before January, while he still has control over the Senate, because the Senate is where it controls, and that's the lack of the ignorance and knowledge of people understanding how government works. Is the Senate confirms all of the federal judges and the judges to the Supreme Court. So those two, Thomas and them, are not going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to make sure that they step down Alito and Thomas, so that Donald Trump can put two more people like him, younger versions of themselves, on the court before he leaves.
But there's no constitutional amendment.
Of what the number
There's
is.
no constitutional protocol on what the number of citizens, on justices can be.
Right, but it's very difficult to get them, because you need the numbers in the Senate to be able to override that, and that's where the problem arises. That the numbers are so close now. You need, I think it's like 62 or something like
60
that.
votes.
Yeah,
but and the other side is that those races, although they may have you have to look at the race.
Yeah.
Although they may have the numbers, but if I'm actually representing a group, a state that normally went Democratic, but now they went Republican, and it's very narrow, I got to be concerned about my constituents and how they're going to feel about what I allowed Trump to do.
Yeah, I just don't think that these folks, like I said, they knew that now. I just don't think that they're plugged in. They're just not, like I said, I don't know how much the pain has to be before they come around.
No, I think they sold a very good narrative to the American people around the economy.
Right.
I think a lot of the votes was because of the economy, not because of what Donald Trump. Exactly. So I think that I have to give it to the Republicans. They painted that narrative well, but I don't think it's going to be strong enough to get them to keep them in office if they do go along with what Trump is doing.
Dicka and Jamal, thank you, brothers. We got to run. Thank you, Jamal. I'll see you down at the bookstore. Dicka, hope I'll see you as well. The people historically have, historically the party income during the midterms has lost seats, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the case this time.
Well, actually, the incoming party. You're right. The incoming party is more of a referendum on the existing party during the midterm.
Exactly. All right, we've got to go. We'll listen at the roundtable with MAMLEO, and God willing, we'll be back next week.
And be blessed.
Yes.
Amen.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer, cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog.
I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game, it ain't a challenge. If your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies, you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst, and the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer, cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog.